Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing on this channel. It really means a lot to us. We hope that you guys are getting something out of this content that are gonna help you guys pursue your professional acting careers, especially you. Thanks, appreciate it. If you guys haven't already or checking out the channel for the very first time, you don't have to like and subscribe yet because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. But you could if you want, just out of the kindness of your own heart. But for those of you guys who have been following the channel and you have left us comments, today we're gonna be answering some of those, so stick around. Okay, so generally when we get some questions, they're actually really great, and I think they're going to apply to a lot of people, so we're gonna take some of those. To be honest with you, I have no idea what's coming at me, so Lauren, our producer, is gonna give me a question.
What are the best colors to wear for a self-tape?
Best colors. That's, wow, how do I answer that question? I think the best colors to wear to a self-tape obviously depends on what color your backdrop is going to be. If you have a blue backdrop, don't wear blue. Outside of that, there are colors that look good on camera and work well with your skin tone. Solid colors always look really great. Earth tones can look really great, but you might get something that kind of competes with the blue background if that's what you're going with. So try to find things that work well, that look appealing, and that really bring out a nice flesh tone in your face. I think that's what's most important. A lot of actors get washed out just because they're wearing something that's in high contrast to their skin tone. And so if you put a little thought into that, it can really help you look your best on camera.
What is standard on volume of reader? I've been told to keep a low volume and that the reader should be the same as my volume.
Okay, so for a self-tape, the volume of the reader. I think what is most important is that it is not jarring to the listener. And so depending on where that reader is at on the side of the camera, like for instance, if you're doing it on your phone and your phone audio is coming over here, then put your reader on the other side of camera so that they're further away from the microphone. That can help just not to be really loud and jarring as you're listening to that. Outside of that, they shouldn't probably be a better actor than you. So they want to help you. You know, if they know a moment needs a moment to breathe and they're an actor, then hopefully they pause and they let that moment take place versus somebody that doesn't know how to be a good reader and they're just gonna, jump your line or jump that moment somehow. So yeah, they shouldn't be louder. They could be where you're at, but not too soft either. I've heard a lot of self-tapes where the reader is so far back that you can barely hear them at all. In fact, sometimes it's all non-existent, and that can be equally as bad as too loud of a reader. That happy medium is your volume or perhaps a little less.
Crying on cue. How healthy is this? It seems emotionally wrecking and dangerous.
Yes, I've loved the comments on how to cry on cue video that say, don't do this. This is damaging to your emotional health. So it's a great question and a thought. From my vantage point, it is not. And let me tell you why. There are methods and techniques out there to cry, and they want you to relive past hurts. And I hope that's not what you guys were getting in the How to Cry on Cue video. This one is the power of the daydream. So you aren't reliving. Like for instance, if I'm working with an actor and we're trying to get there emotionally, and I go to the actor and I'm like, how did we personalize this? And they say something like, oh, well, my dad just passed away 3 weeks ago. I would be like, whoa, put the brakes on. We don't want to relive that because that is an actual loss that you have experienced. And we don't want to go back and then pick at an old wound and just make it bleed again. Can it provide an emotional response from you? Yes, it can. And I have seen that work for actors as far as providing a result. However, what I see is that when the actor uses something that's real, either they've cried all they can cry on that thing and it's lost some effect, or they haven't even dealt with it. And so when it's in their work, it's really unpredictable. Sometimes you call cut and they cried in the scene, but once you call cut, then they go off and they start sobbing uncontrollably. And I'm thinking, oh man, they got to come back in because we still need to film this 30 more times. So you're choosing something that can bring you to tears, but you also don't have that much control over it because it's too real. It is real. I think that can be damaging because you're reliving past hurts, you're picking at scabs, you're just making them bleed over and over again in your work. This is entirely different than that because the actor is living in the daydream, in a hypothetical. So you're going to choose a person that is alive and well. So let's just say that that your dad is alive and well and you wanted to use them as the personalization for this. Then you're just going to daydream the what if. What if something happened to them? What if I were losing them? And the power of the mind will bring you through those motions, but it will be very real because you're connected to your dad in a very powerful way, and the thought of losing him will bring you to that emotional state that you need to be in. But when they call cut at the end of that scene, that's not real. He's alive and he's well and everything's fine. So you're not picking an old scab. You're living out in the moment what is real and truthful about that relationship that will bring you to the emotional point of view that you need. So do I think that's damaging psychologically? I hope not. But if it is for you, then steer clear of it. We don't want to send the actor through this emotional, psychological turmoil. That's not the point. But I think that is the healthier approach than the other one.
Crying on cue. I feel like it's only working once. My brain is like, nah, girl, I know this hack now.
Nah, girl, I know this hack now. Okay, so, yeah, I hear you. I have found that each time needs to be new, and sometimes once you do something once, then your brain all of a sudden wants to judge it against what was. And when you're not feeling it in the exact same way, your brain goes, it's not working. So you don't want to relive that first experience. It won't get you there again. You need to relive a new experience, and you need to allow that to feel different, look different, sound different, and provoke different things out of you than that first time. And that's living in it again, but organically, and because it should work many times in a row. And your relationships are always in a constant state of flux and changing, and new people come into your life and some are leaving your life. It may be appropriate to choose different people who right now, today, hold that power in that relationship and that weight. So you might not always use the same person all the time, but I have seen actors use that same person and that have effective results time after time after time because they still hold that place in that actor's heart.
Crying on cue. It worked for me when I watched the video. How should I use this process in an audition?
I understand that. So one is it's much easier for the actor if, let's say, the scene starts and the actor is coming into that scene already crying because you have as much time as you want before they call action to get yourself there and prepped, and you don't have that pressure of hitting that moment in a single beat. So when you have to start crying in the middle of the scene, what you want to do is not anticipate the crying coming up. That is probably the worst thing that you can do, because imagine that it's a hose, okay? Your emotions can flow through that hose, but as soon as you start anticipating or thinking that the crying's coming up, just imagine you're just kinking that hose. Kinking it, oh my gosh, that moment's coming up. Oh, I don't feel it, I don't feel it, I don't feel it. And pretty soon, it is so strangled and closed off with that anticipation of that moment that you won't be able to get there. And this is the thing about letting go. And you have to be able to trust this process. You got to be able to trust yourself as a performer and know that it will be there if you are connected. As soon as you get an actor thought that comes into play, and that is that fear-based thing, oh, it's not going to be there. What do I do? It's going to tighten up. All of a sudden, you have now disconnected from the given circumstance and where that character's at in the scene. And now you're not aligned with their emotional point of view. You're freaking out over here and not living in this moment. You got to stay fully committed to living in the moment where that character's at. Trust that it's going to be there when you need it, when you are connected to that scene, connected to your character, connected to their emotional point of view. So you got to trust yourself. You got to let go and don't anticipate that moment.
When you say train, what type of training are you talking about? Do you have any training exercises you suggest an intermediate actor would really benefit from?
When I say train, I mean do this every single week. Do it every single day. I think what I see most of the time with actors is that they will train for little bits of time here and there, sporadically. We at Studio 24 look at training like an athlete would look at training. It's not something that you go, oh, I'm going to go train for 6 weeks and then I'm done. I'm good. I trained. Now I'm ready to go, play ball and go win. The thing is you won't win because there are athletes that are doing it every single day. those are the ones that are really strengthening themselves as actors. I am a firm believer in ongoing acting classes. It's a gym membership. It's where you go work out every single week, and between that class, you are working every single day on that material. You're strengthening what you're doing. You're learning more about camera and blocking, and you're getting to experiment with different characters and different genres and different emotions, and you're learning how to play your own instrument. As an actor, you are both the musician and the instrument, and you have to learn how to play every part of you if you want to be a really well-rounded actor. That takes a lot of time. So in class and dedicating yourself to working on it again every week, every day, that is where actors see real growth. You're going to learn, you're going to experiment, you're going to grow, you're going to be challenged, and at the end of the day, yes, you'll be a better actor. But one thing that actors don't think about is that you are also going to be a more confident actor, and you are going to know that you can execute what is required of you 100% for sure. Why? Because you do it every single week. And you're also proving to yourself that you're great. And until you believe that, don't expect anybody else to. So it doesn't matter where you train. There's lots of good instructors. There are lots of good studios. There are lots of good methods and techniques to get an actor there, but it is important that you master one of them. 6 weeks here, 4 weeks there, 2 weeks there. Workshop acting will not make you an actor.
Film versus theater. Is it true that if you really want a career in film and TV, you will have to have some experience with theater first?
That's an interesting question. It's a good question. I think you hear so much of if you're a real actor, you're a theater, actor, or you went through some type of a program, you're classically trained, this, that, and the other. There are plenty of actors who have gone through academies and universities and classically trained actors at conservatories that still aren't working actors. I think the thought behind theater is that you know that an actor is dedicated and disciplined if they have gone through theater, because there are just certain things, certain sacrifices that you have to make as an actor to do it. So you have to have that love. I think sometimes when you see, it's just a TV and film actor, they have no theater, you're thinking, do they just want to get to, the fun stuff and not kind of go through the motions of taking everything that they can where they're at to kind of learn and dedicate themselves to it. Do I think an actor has to go through theater to be able to be a TV and film actor? No. I've seen it happen many, many times where an actor has not really had much theater experience and gone into TV and film acting. So I don't think it's necessary. I think that agents can see it as a good thing because they know the actor's dedicated and they know they put in those sacrifices, and casting directors as well. I think they see it that way. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way to get to TV and film work.
You're the best. Learning so much from you. Can you give 2 to 3 examples of dialogue that differentiate the delivery between film and theater?
Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. 2 to 3 examples of a dialogue delivery, like a line reading or something. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for there, but I think the difference between theater and film is just the distance that your audience is. Really, if you just want to just simplify it down, it's that generally if you're doing theater, then you're not going to have your audience, sometimes, but they're not going to be right here. They're not going to be 3 feet away from you. Okay, for example, if you're sitting this far away from me right now, I could talk like this to you, and I could say, I just don't know why you told them that. And that might be appropriate for film, but if I said that in a theater, especially if I wasn't, mic'd and I have to project out, could you imagine watching an entire show like that? You wouldn't hear anything, and there's really no movement on stage. And so what those characters are going through and experiencing, the audience isn't going to get at all because it was just too intimate. If you were to bring that audience member and put them 2 feet away from those actors, then they would get it, and that may be appropriate. That's what the camera does. We are intimate with those actors. And so that's where it doesn't need to be projected out. It doesn't need to be any bigger than real life. But when you are on a stage, it does. And again, it's not just audibly, but it's also physically. And it might go into something like, I just don't know why you would even tell them that. Again, it has to be just projected out a little bit. It's going to get a little bit more physical so that the audience can get it.
Could you guys talk about adding details to acting and where not to add details?
Okay, this is a really great question, and I think that a lot of actors are thinking this, and when they don't know if they should or they shouldn't, they generally don't, and it's really hurting them in their performances. So let me give you an example of that. If your character was going to say something like, Jeff is so annoying, then that is a given fact that's in the script, and you're not going to have the full script, so you don't know what Jeff did that causes you to be annoyed at him, and so the actor's just going to leave it blank. So they're going to go, oh, Jeff is so annoying, and it's just going to be a line delivery that you think might be bright because you're not going to say it happy because you're annoyed at him, and so it just comes out a little annoyed and frustrated, but it doesn't have specificity, it doesn't have detail behind it. So that is definitely a case where the actor should add detail to support that point of view and to support that line of dialogue. So you're going to have to make it up. So you might say, okay, Jeff is somebody that I work with, and we were supposed to be on a project together, and he didn't do his stuff, and then we had a meeting that we had to go into to do this presentation, and in that he told them that he did all the work and that I dropped the ball, and then I got in trouble for it, and anyway, so I would talk through adding some details so that when I said, oh, Jeff is so annoying, then I actually have something that supports that line of dialogue, and obviously that came out a little bit differently than it did before because now I have detail. I've got specificity behind a choice that supports saying that line of dialogue. Actors need to do that for everything that they say and everything that that character does in that scene. And then there's just stuff that you would fill in that is not associated, directly, with Jeff is so annoying, but that supports the scene to add in the real life stuff that gives us things to think about and images that pop into our head as a result of filling all of that work with detail and specificity, most of which you are making up. Until you book the job and you get the full script, it might give you the actual answers and you're going to build off of those answers. But until then, make it all up, fill it all in. Those were all really great questions, and it lets me know that you guys are thinking about all of the right things. So keep those comments coming. We'll do more videos like this if this is helpful for you guys to learn and to grow as actors as you guys pursue your professional acting careers. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. If you haven't already, now like and subscribe and click that bell, and we will keep these videos coming to you. We'll see you guys on the next one.